Philadelphia Eagles. There are moments in a game that last only a few seconds, but somehow they make your heart race like an entire quarter just went by. A quick hit, a slightly awkward movement, a quarterback getting up just a little slower than usual. And when that quarterback is Jalen Hurts, everything changes instantly. The air feels different, the noise drops. Even if you're just listening on the radio, you feel that knot in your stomach. Because everyone in Philadelphia knows exactly what number 1 represents right now. And the strange thing is, sometimes it's not what actually happens on the field that creates the tension. It's what looks like it might have happened. A shorter step, a facial expression, a movement that doesn't look quite right. Eagles fans have lived through entire seasons that turned on moments just like that. So when anything feels off, even briefly, the mind starts racing. It jumps ahead. It goes straight to the worst possible scenario. And that's exactly the feeling that crept in during the game against the Raiders. At first, nobody really knew what had happened. There was no dramatic announcement, no long delay, no silence that usually comes with a serious injury. But there was something, a hit, a slow rise, a moment that was small enough to slip past some people, but big enough to light up conversations among fans, commentators, and social media almost immediately. And that's where this story really begins, because the size of the scare doesn't always match the seriousness of the situation. Little by little, it became clear that the moment involved Jalen Hurts. He had taken some contact and showed brief discomfort getting up. He stayed in the game for a short time, then eventually left the field. And that was all it took. Seeing the franchise quarterback heading to the sideline was enough for the word injury to start spreading. But here's the key part of this story, and this will make more sense in a moment. Not every trip to the sideline means something is actually wrong. The context of that game matters more than anything. The Eagles had already built a comfortable lead. They were in control. The defense was doing its job. The offense had already imposed its will. There was absolutely no reason to expose the starting quarterback to unnecessary risk. And that's when the most important decision of the night was made, a decision that says a lot about the maturity of this team and its coaching staff. Nick Sirianni and his staff made a simple, rational, and very strategic call. They protected Jalen Hurts. Not because he was truly injured, but because there was no reason at all to push it. Hurts did not show up on the injury report, no official concern after the game, no limitations mentioned. What happened wasn't about injury, it was about management. That word management is something Eagles fans need to hear more often. Championship teams aren't built only on talent or toughness, they're built on smart decisions over the course of a long season. Pulling Hurts at that moment was less about the hit he took and more about the hit he didn't need to take. This is important because a lot of people still confuse toughness with recklessness. Jalen Hurts is not a quarterback who avoids contact. He runs when he has to. He fights for extra yards. He doesn't shy away from big moments. That's part of who he is. But precisely because of that, knowing when to take him out matters. And the Eagles showed they understand that balance. After the game, the picture became clearer. Hurts showed no real concern. The coaching staff didn't signal anything long-term. He wasn't listed on any injury report. Everything pointed to what many suspected right away. It was just a scare. One of those moments that feels huge in real time, then fades once the full context settles in. And that opens up an interesting discussion. Why does a moment like this grow so quickly? The answer is where the Eagles are right now and what Hurts represents. He's not just the starting quarterback, he's the face of the franchise. He's the leader in the locker room. He's the symbol of stability in a league where stability is rare. Anything involving Jalen Hurts automatically feels bigger, even when it isn't. Later on, I'll explain why that actually says something positive about the relationship between the team and the fan base. But first, let's talk about the real impact of this decision. By taking Hurts out of the game, the Eagles protected more than just a player. They protected the direction of their season. They avoided unnecessary headlines, they avoided physical risk, and they sent a clear message. The bigger picture always comes first. That doesn't mean a lack of competitiveness, it means confidence. Confidence in the roster, confidence in the game plan, confidence that winning that game didn't require the quarterback to stay on the field until the final whistle. Insecure teams force situations. Mature teams know when to step back. For the fan base, especially those who have been watching this team for decades, decisions like this bring a quiet sense of relief. It's not something you cheer loudly in the moment. It's something you appreciate the next day when you realize nobody's talking about scans, tests, or missed weeks. Instead, they're talking about the next opponent. And that leads to another important point. Jalen Hurts doesn't need to prove anything about toughness or commitment anymore. He's done that time and time again. What he needs now is continuity. He needs to be healthy when the games truly matter. He needs to be fully available when every possession counts, and that starts with moments like this, moments that seem small but are incredibly important. Yes, the initial reaction may have been exaggerated. Some people saw that moment and immediately thought the worst. That's natural. But reality caught up quickly. There was no real injury, no limitation, just a smart read of the situation. And for anyone who understands football beyond the scoreboard, that's very good news. Looking ahead, this moment serves as a reminder. The Eagles are paying attention. They're not just playing the game in front of them, they're managing the season as a whole. They understand that health is just as valuable as any statistic, and they understand that Jalen Hurts, because of who he is, must be protected when the situation allows it. Eagles fans can breathe a little easier. The scare stayed just that, a scare. Hurts remains the leader of the offense without restrictions, without dark clouds hanging over the near future, and the team continues to show signs of competitive maturity. That doesn't always show up in highlights, but it shows up in decisions, and those decisions often matter the most when the calendar gets tight. Now let me leave you with a question to think about, one that's bound to spark strong opinions. How much do Eagles fans truly trust the coaching staff to make these kinds of decisions, even when it involves the most important player on the team? Think about that. And before we wrap up, if you've been listening this far, drop a comment with your thoughts, hit the like button to help the channel reach more Eagles fans, and subscribe if you haven't already. That support helps this channel keep delivering deep, thoughtful coverage the way Eagles fans deserve, and it helps strengthen this community that lives and breathes Philadelphia Eagles football every single day.